Next, I would like to welcome our keynote speaker for this inaugural session. Mr. Surendra Borad is based in Belgium. He's founder and chairman of the Germany Corporation. Germany is engaged in the sourcing and distribution of recyclable plastics, metal, and rubber. I think most of us in this room are well aware of who Surendra is. So without further ado, can I please welcome him to the dais?
Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to take you to the biggest private recycling company of the world. A recycling company which pays every year 1,300 crore rupees as income tax only. A recycling company which employs 150,000 people. And a recycling company whose revenue exceeds 150,000 crore rupees annually, which is about 400 crore rupees daily on recycling business only. Similar to this recycling company, what needs to be done that such recycling company grow also in India and start paying taxes in thousands of crores of rupees, employ millions of people? This private recycling company handles practically all kinds of waste materials. Which of their waste materials are most profitable for us from Indian point of view? This is going to be the theme of my today's presentation to you. Distinguished guests, government dignitaries at the dais, chairman, president, board members, Sanjay Babu, Brian, Robin, Ranjit Bhai, Arno, Mr. Abura, Salamji, Sudhirji, ladies and gentlemen, namaskar. This private recycling company is known as Rethmann Group in Germany. The owner, Mr. Rethmann, visited my company in Belgium about 3 months back in November 2018. I learned they handle 30 million tons of materials every year. In a span of 30 years, their business has grown 20 times. And I wanted to ask them a lot of information. I'd like to congratulate and welcome 3 of their esteemed guest delegates from this group to this conference. I learned India is aiming for a foreign investment of $100 billion in next 2 years in special industrial clusters. This group is operating one such cluster, producing over 1 million tons of reprocessed materials in an area of 230 hectares in Germany. Plastic, metal, wood, used cooking oil, electronic waste, all at one place and growing very well. I wanted to ask them, what's the secret? And one of the most important things I learned, what we need is a set of national statutory recycling targets. And together with the recycling target, predictable, long-term, irreversible rules and regulation corresponding to these targets. Europe had such targets. Recycling targets, 85% for paper, 80% for ferrous, 60% for aluminum, and 55% for plastics to be achieved by 2030. I learned from them that to expedite the growth, there needs to be a lot of government intervention. And I'm wondering, is it possible to have a separate ministry for waste business? Can you believe in England, there's a ministry for waste business? Yes. And this ministry used to be called even Waste Ministry until now. Now they have renamed it as a Resource Ministry. Can we link the salary of top executives, top bureaucrats, with the achievement of sustainable and recycling targets in the same way recently the multinational Royal Dutch Shell have done it? And I read yesterday 34,000 employees of BP would be getting salary linked to the sustainability. large multinationals, some of the large multinationals have set up very ambitious target for sustainability and recycling. Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola have set a target of using 100%, I repeat, 100% recyclable and reusable materials, packaging material by 2030. Similarly, Nestle, Unilever, McDonald's have also set the same target, but 5 years earlier, by 2025. And they would be using between 25 to 50% recycled content. Somebody has to supply them to these large multinationals big quantity of recycled material. Why not from India? By promoting the export of reprocessed material, we would make Sri Modi's dream of making India a reality. Import, process, and export to these big consumers. In August 2018, Niti Aayog spoke of making exports as the center point of India's economic activity. Last week, Suresh Prabhuji spoke of doubling India's exports. Here are the opportunities. Promote export of reprocessed material. Make them competitive by refunding the import duties, the taxes which are embedded in the input materials. And at the moment, it's not being refunded. While promoting the exports and while promoting the recycling in plastic industry, we must not make the same mistake which United Arab Emirates made. While setting that industry, Mr. Salamji is listening, while setting that industry, they did not take care of ensuring adequate supply of inputs. You need to have a minimum monthly capacity of 3,000 tons per month to be competitive. And I know it's difficult to have access to such material in one location. Idea of cluster would certainly work, but more than import is necessary. Allow import for re-export. I'm emphasizing re-export. At the moment, only limited companies are allowed to import, even if it's meant for re-export. And this is very, very important. Besides, the import permit should be of long enough duration that the entrepreneur can invest large amount in creating infrastructure. We need to create infrastructure for collection, for sorting of scrap. We need to create infrastructure for baling, for efficient waste transport. Therefore, I would suggest we should request government to give special financing incentive on baling machines and on vehicle transport. By taking these steps, we would be solving the polluting problem of plastics, a material we cannot live without even for 24 hours. We wake up in the morning and many of us, first thing we do is to look for our mobile phone. It's made up with plastics. We take a shower using bucket, mugs, or pata. This is made up of plastics. We drive in car from home to office. It's made up with plastics. Then laptop, computers, writing pen, the list is endless. Plastics touches the life of every person, every day, almost every hour. Without plastics, the food waste would increase. As per a study, the world wastes $750 billion worth of food. Without plastics, the automobile would become more heavier, will consume more fuel. And without plastics, agriculture, irrigation would be difficult. In fact, plastics is so much in demand and demanded by the general public that the world would produce 26 billion tons of plastics in the next 30 years. 26 billion, not millions, billion tons. So which is about 2 to 3 million tons per day at some time. Isn't it a huge quantity? And the most important thing of this production, currently only less than 20% is recycled. And this rate of recycling is increasing by less than 1%, but the rate of production of prime is increasing by more than 4%. Somebody has to do something about it. And here is the opportunity. In fact, so huge opportunity that the environment cost of using next alternative to plastics is 4 times higher. Therefore, you can afford to put some recycling levy, some tax. And I understand a recovery levy of 10 rupees per kilo on complex plastics is being debated. And once approved, we are talking of a new revenue stream of 3,000 to 4,000 crore rupees only in plastics. Can you imagine the amount of business? And this recycling levy can be used to influence the design, the behavior of customers. So instead of putting a blanket ban like many states have done in India, let's use this tax. I learned the Food Standard Authority of India have come out with a new regulation forbidding use of recycled material in food-grade application from July this year onwards. I wish I could meet them personally and inform them that in England, all milk bottles are made with minimum 30% recycled content. And there is a voluntary agreement to increase this 30% to 50% of the plastic recycled content. Which mother would allow her children to drink milk from such bottles if they are made from dangerous materials? This is what we need to inform to the general public and also to the public authorities. We need to inform also entrepreneurs like you about the great opportunity in such business being talked about by the Global Commission. 7 countries, including England, Norway, Sweden, and Korea, South Korea, have formed a commission called Global Commission. The commission advises governments on matters relating to climate changes. In its landmark 2018 report, the commission estimates that the world will gain $26 trillion of economic benefits by 2030 if we take steps towards cleaner climate and sustainability. 26 trillion, not billions. I didn't make this word. This is the report which refers to it. 26 trillion. And this report is made out by very influential people of the world. The commission comprises 28 former heads of government, finance ministers, and top leaders in business and commerce. Our guest speaker, Mr. Sujit Samadar from Niti Aayog, would confirm that even Niti Aayog is endorsing such mind-boggling figures, and rightly so. I was a speaker at their Circular Economic Summit in New Delhi, and the summit organized by Niti Aayog and MOEF referred to a figure of $500 billion benefit, $500 billion benefit to Indian economy on introduction of circular economy by 2030. By 2030, the Commission says it's possible to create 65 million new jobs in environmentally friendly business. Every month, 1 million Indians enter the workforce for the first time. A well-developed Indian recycling industry would certainly absorb these first-timers. Recycling community is made up of small players with limited resources, but we can make a big impact. We must be fully determined to ensure that the existing and forthcoming recycling opportunities are fully capitalized on by Indians in India. We will bring profits. We will bring pride, preservation of precious resources. This industry is very promising. Certainly, we will not fail in creating jobs and wealth for us, and eventually revenues for the government. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you.